Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I do hope everyone's been having an awesome weekend out there so far. There is much to talk about in this morning's video, and the main topic is the tropics. And I think this will be the main topic going forward on these videos since we are entering a more active period climo-wise as far as hurricane season. And there's three things I'm watching. One is an invest right now. We'll speak on that. Another area could get going off the coast of the southeast later this week. And then we're watching way out here in the Atlantic. And I just think a tropical wave is going to emerge. And model guidance is really liking the idea of this wave developing into something. What is that something? We got to figure that out. We're going to compare all model guidance, talk about the environmental background of the Atlantic and all of that, nerd out with you guys, and just get you guys some very, very good detail on this update on the tropics. After that, we'll break down today's weather, and then we'll be on with our day. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. So let's get rocking and rolling. We've been starting all these off with looking at the current conditions out here in the Atlantic. Let's make sure this is going to work for us, and it is. So I'll circle a few things. One is Invest 95L. This is a new from the last about 24 hours, and I think this has a shot to become our next name storm maybe by the end of today. Next name is Dexter. If it does develop into a tropical storm, it's going to continue to head out into the North Atlantic and most likely not bother anybody. Now, the steering currents could make it kind of do a loop right here, but we'll continue to watch it. All these systems are always worth watching, even if they're not going to bother anybody. They are affecting the fish out there in the sea, if you will. But anyways, the next thing I am going to watch is maybe an area of unsettled weather that could get going again. Maybe in this region, off the coast of the southeast, frontal activity, what we call homegrown activity. Basically just a stalled frontal boundary hanging around for too long. This allows for lifting the atmosphere, shower and storm activity, convection, and this can fire up something tropical just like we're seeing with this invest right now. So this is kind of the secondary area to watch. Now the third, it's not really showing up on your screen right now, but we're going to watch a tropical wave that will emerge way out here in the eastern Atlantic and eventually move into the central Atlantic, and this is what we call the MDR, Main Development Region, or the Tropical Atlantic, an area of the Atlantic that typically doesn't get very active until we get into the second half of August and the first half of September. But I'm going to watch this area once this energy gets off Africa and moves into this circled region. Something will have a shot to develop. Model guidance really likes the idea of that. Where does it go if it does develop? We'll figure that out as we go. The first thing we always got to figure out is if something's going to develop, and when it does, that's when we try to figure out where it's going to go. So this is all of the pieces to the puzzle out here in the Atlantic, if you will, the three things we are watching. So let's continue to move forward. Now let's speak on the things that are a little bit closer to us time-wise. Let's not speak on things that are, way out ahead. Let's speak on things a little bit closer to us. So this is Invest 95L, and you can see a bit of a spin to it, sort of a elongated low-level spin, but it is tightening up, and I do think this will take our next named storm. Currently at a 50% chance to do that, or at least become a tropical depression. This is heading away from land, so that's good, but I mean, guys, you can quite literally see the spin on your map. I mean, the reason the screen kind of goes from dull to a little bit more color is because this is the sun coming up on this thing, and as the sun's coming up on the eastern U.S., but you can see the spin. So this thing's getting its act together. The waters are plenty warm out here. It's right over the Gulf Stream, or at least over portions of it. So sea surface temperatures are well into the 80s. I was actually at the beach yesterday here in Folly Beach, just outside of Charleston, and it was plenty warm. The ocean was warm. It was cloudy outside, but the ocean itself was like a bathtub pretty much. So, I mean, it's August. It's plenty warm out here as far as sea surface temperature. So I think this thing is well on its way to taking our next named storm, which is Dexter. The next name after that is Aaron with an E. So I did just want to show you guys that, and we'll speak on it if it becomes some sort of concern. Maybe the steering currents allows it to wrap back around, but right now, not a huge deal. Now, you look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center, and the reason I kind of held off with this video is because I wanted to catch the 7:30, 8 a.m. update, and we did, so that's good news. This has bumped up to a 50% chance of developing in this orange area within the next few days. Let's just say that. So development means it could develop into a tropical depression or a tropical storm. And I think it has a good shot to do it. And I think there's a chance it could do it sometime between now and the next 24 hours. So 50% chance of that. And I made a community post yesterday on this. We'll be talking heavily on this also. There's a 30% chance that the tropical wave that potentially emerges off Africa could develop in this area right here over the next 7 days. 30% chance. Last night it was a 20. They bumped it up 10% at the latest outlook. So I'm glad I called it. So it's interesting. I want you guys to know, because I'm going to show you model guys. I read it in the comments every single hurricane season. People will just make these assumptions in the comments. They'll be like, oh, well, it's a fish storm. We have nothing to worry about. Or looks like it's turning out to see nothing to worry about. Guys, I don't know if you guys remember, especially in the Carolinas, Hurricane Florence, all model guidance for a few days showed it heading out to sea. And then all of a sudden, we know what happened with Hurricane Florence here in the Carolinas. So just don't make, don't assume things with the weather, guys. I mean, it's going to do what it does, right? So there is a 30% chance of development. We got to figure out if something's going to develop out here first. But the reason I chattered about that for about a minute, I'll tell you the reason here in a second. You'll see here in a minute. So like I said, let's continue to talk about what's a little bit closer to us. Now, we're not going to speak on much on Invest 95L. We're going to talk on what we're seeing behind this, but that is what this is right here. It's a 1,007 millibar low. I want you to keep your eyes down here at this part of your screen. So that system heads on out, probably becomes Dexter. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but I think there's a good shot for it too, in my personal opinion. This is the time frame up here. So just ignore the Zulu time, 12Z, that it stands for the morning time, and just look at the day. Okay, so Tuesday, August the 5th. So we get into Wednesday. You're just seeing some splashes of green down here in the southeast. And then check this out. A little bit of a low pressure develops right here. 10, 16 millibar low, weak low. There's been some model guidance floating that idea of a tropical storm. Last night it showed a hurricane. But I want the entire East Coast to watch out for this one. And when I say watch out, I'm not trying to freak anybody out. I think a hurricane's going to hit later this week. But I think that this could spin up fast. On the latest GFS, it does take a weak low pressure and moves it into the outer banks of just eastern sections of North Carolina, brings a lot of rainfall. But I mean, there's a chance that this also, if it does develop, could remain just off the shoreline and continue to strengthen. And I would just watch out for the entire East Coast for this if something does develop. But it does spin something up there, so that's interesting. What does the Euro show for this? And here it goes. It just shows a lot of unsettled weather. So we get into Tuesday. Man, that's just a lot of rainfall. I think it's just going to be a soggy week. I think this will keep us a week-long pattern of below average temperatures for the southeast. It's going to be nice, but we're going to have to deal with the rain. But we get into Wednesday, a lot of rain. We get into Thursday, a lot of rain. Now, there's some energy right into here. It's just not consolidated. You can't really tell off the precipitation output here. But there is something here. And it's throwing a lot of moisture, a big moisture surge right into the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic. You just can't see it well. But you can see it pretty good here. Now, these splashes of yellows and the oranges, stuff like that, this is energy in the lower levels, 850 millibars. And what you watch for here is if any of these like wind barbs you see right here, if they kind of tighten up and really spin around in a tight fashion here. So we start to get into about midweek. You see these little things right out here dancing around? See how these little lines with the flag on them are kind of spinning around cyclonically? That could be a little tropical spin, and there it goes. Kind of in the same time frame and the same area as the GFS. It spins up a little something, but it's not anything too crazy. But I'm telling you, we got to watch this out. I don't know if for the people who's been tuning in for about a week or so, and this isn't to toot my own horn. This is to compare. This is to show you how important the 850 millibars are when you're trying to figure out a low-level spin that isn't showing up well when you look at the precipitation output. But I don't know if you guys remember, about a week ago, I was talking about the potential for a little spin up off the East Coast to happen, and that's what that invest is right now. And you could see it well because frontal boundary sagging down. It's that time of the year. It don't take much. The sea surface temperatures are warm. So this could happen again later this week. And the icon shows it well. This is the latest icon, in fact. And we move here in motion. Can't speak this morning. We get into Tuesday. We get into Wednesday. Big moisture surge across the Carolinas and just the southeast. But there it goes. There's a little spin up right here. We're getting into Thursday, and then we stop it right here. And this is Thursday night and a Friday morning of this week, not next week, this week. We get a 1010 millibar low developing on the icon. So, I don't show the icon much, but sometimes I do. But just to see if it agrees with the other two big dog models in the Euro and the GFS. But it does show a tropical low developing later this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday time frame. I'm telling you, we got to watch that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the National Hurricane Center puts another area of interest in this area here in the next day or so. And if you're looking at the environmental background, I don't think the upper wind pattern's certainly not perfect, but it doesn't take much in this area. And if we look sort of off the coast of the southeast here, the waters are very warm. Okay, I know this isn't Celsius, but 29, 30 degrees Celsius is equivalent to the mid to upper 80s in Fahrenheit. So it certainly will support a tropical system, that's for sure. So we continue to move forward here, and one thing I will tell you is, regardless of tropical development, we got a soggy pattern out ahead with just a stalled boundary in place. Multiple inches of rain could fall between now and the next, and I brought this all the way out until the next 10 days. And this is the Euro ensemble, but it is just going to be a soggy next week or so. It seems like this always happens around this time of the year too, because I'm a soccer coach, and it seems like our first couple of soccer practices are always canceled. But here we are. And last year was no different. We had Debbie. I don't know if you guys remember in the southeast, Debbie came up through this time of the year and just soaked everybody. So regardless, a lot of rain's going to fall probably in the next 7 to 10 days. Now, let's talk about way out here in the Atlantic. We're going to do what we did like in yesterday morning's video and start it off with ensemble guidance. So this is the Euro ensemble. This makes up 51 members. And in this case, when you're screening, it's going to throw all the members on your screen that do show a decent in strength low pressure. Now, just don't think you see a bunch of L's, there's like going to be like 40 tropical systems going to develop. That's not what it means. It just throws all the members of the 51 member Euro ensemble on your screen. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I have to repeat that just so you guys understand. And it's wild. I never had a comment saying, Mitch, are we going to have 15 tropical storms out there? But I always just want to repeat that. But we'll get it going around Thursday of this week. I think we'll be dealing with something trying to develop off the coast of the southeast. You can see some members reemerging. But look at this strong signal of a tropical wave developing out here. Everything's decently clustered up. It does look like it gains latitude fast, meaning it gets north. It begins to turn north, which would be good for everybody in the Caribbean, and then, of course, the lower 48. We certainly need to watch Bermuda, which is this little speck right here. But, we move into this weekend, this upcoming weekend, Saturday morning, 6 days from now. That is a strong signal for a developing tropical system. But as we continue to move forward here, a lot of these members do head north, but there's still some southern members that we need to watch out for. But that is a strong signal for a tropical system developing. And if it does develop, it hooking north. And there's some strong members in there, guys. I mean, we definitely have a lot of sub 1,000 millibar lows. More sub 1,000 than more above 1,000. And you might be thinking, well, what do you mean by a 1,000 millibar low? Once you get below 1,000 millibar low, that's, to me, where you really start to symbolize you probably have a tropical storm or stronger. So a named storm, I guess you would say. That's sort of the benchmark in my opinion. But millibar doesn't always go in line with wind speed, so always remember that too. But, we take it about 10 days out, and what I want you to notice is some of these members get into this area. And there's a few members down here with another tropical wave that tries to develop, but some of these members do cruise a little bit more southwest, and some of them are strong. So let's not assume that if this develops, just like I said at the beginning of the video, it's just going to turn out to sea. Let's not make that assumption. That system has not even developed. There's a chance it might not even develop. Now, what about the GFS ensemble? And I'm going to show you the operational runs here in a second, because the 06Z GFS is a little alarming. Not in a scary way. It just shows kind of a tricky path. But This makes up 21 members, so you're not going to see as many L's on your screen. I want to first off say, hey, look a little bit, look off the coast of the southeast. There's a lot of low pressures in this area. So that is that second area that we just talked about in the beginning of the video. But you keep going here, and I think, yeah, okay. So we only got about a week out on this, and you're going to see the screen kind of load because I couldn't preload this one. But look at all these members off the coast of the southeast. So there's something trying to get going here that we just talked about in the beginning of this update on the tropics. But then solid signal for a tropical wave developing in this region. Let's just go on and take it about a week out. And like I said, you're not going to see as many members on this because it only makes up 21 members. But there is a signal for a tropical system developing off the coast of the southeast. And then there is that signal for a tropical wave into here. Now, let's look at the overnight GFS ensemble. Okay, so you can see what I'm talking about. It takes some stronger members and starts to flirt them a little bit closer to the Caribbean and gets closer to the southeast coastline. No point in taking it past 10 days, but if we do look at some of the operational runs, okay, this is the Euro, and then we'll show the GFS. Thursday morning, it does have a tropical wave here, 10-12 millibar low. That's our tropical wave that we're watching out here in the Atlantic. It immediately begins to gain latitude, finds a weakness in the pattern. There's not a strong blocking Atlantic high out here. It's there, but it's just not positioned where to keep this thing sort of east to west. So this low pressure by this weekend's already trying to get north, and it's developing though. The waters are warm in this area, warm enough, and heck, it turns north so fast that, I mean, it is hundreds of miles east of Bermuda. Bermuda's this little speck right here, so it doesn't even affect, you know, them really. So a week out from today, you're immediately probably thinking, well, we have nothing to worry about. Well, there's nothing to worry about regardless, but don't assume that this is the track it's going to take. But it does turn into a hurricane. It turns fast and gets out there. It turns into a very strong hurricane too. Could affect the islands in this region also, and this could actually end up impacting, if it was to do this, you know, we had to watch out for Europe. But any other waves behind this? I mean, I'm sure there will be, but no point in really paying too much attention to those. We got enough, really, I think, to talk about in front of us. Now, what about the Euro a little bit closer? I mean, that tropical system develops and turns so fast it doesn't even show up on your screen. But about a week out, is there anything kind of developing in the Gulf off the coast of the southeast? No, I mean, there's a wave slipping into the Caribbean, but I mean, it's over 300 hours out, so it's not a very reliable time frame. Now, I want you to check out the GFS. It takes that wave of interest, it has a 30% chance of develop, and it's really compact, and I think this is because it's running into some pretty dry air that's still out here in the basin. Compact, but it's 1,004 millibar low, but it is definitely cruising further south. And it develops into a tropical storm north of Puerto Rico. Okay, let's go on and well, let's keep it going, because is there anything behind this that develops? It does. It gets another tropical wave, but that doesn't make it. But let's back it up here. Let's get a little bit closer. And here it is starting a week from today. It does get this tropical system going, just like the Euro, but it definitely gets a lot closer to the eastern U.S. And we have a pretty strong hurricane, 979. I mean, that's probably at least a high-end Category 1, Category 2 hurricane. And it looks like it's a major hurricane right off the coast of the Carolinas. It's not a forecast. Don't tell everybody this, but we'll stop it there. So I'm showing you this because you can tell model guidance is still a little everywhere where it comes to steering currents. And I don't feel the need to really get deep into it yet until we really get, I would say, a few more days. But there's obviously some disagreement on high pressure over the Atlantic. But as far as the upper wind pattern, I'm going to sum this up pretty simple here. There is not a lot of stronger winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere present. There is a good bit of dry air, so they sort of fight one another, right, for tropical development. But as we get into mid to late August, if we continue to have what looks like a pretty favorable upper wind pattern, meaning, you know, our tropical systems are going to try to develop into this area. Okay, maybe in this area. And I mean, certainly not seeing a whole lot in this area either. If they develop in those 3 circled areas I just drew, you're not seeing a whole lot of these slashes of blue, which would cause wind shear. Of course, there's different flow in the atmosphere and lower levels of the atmosphere. This is like 35, 40,000 feet up in the air, but there's not a lot of wind shear. This has allowed for the sea surface temperatures out here to warm pretty dramatically. So when we get what we call this favorable MJO pulse of rising air, it's going to allow for more convective activity. You got these waves that continue to come off Africa, that continue to moisten the environment. Eventually, things are going to pop off. And that's what I'm concerned about a little bit. So the upper wind pattern supports tropical development. It's just going to fight off the dry air. Sea surface temperatures certainly do. Southwest Atlantic has warmed up dramatically. The entire Atlantic has. But I mean, in the Southwest Atlantic here, there's a plume of sea surface temperatures that are well into the mid to upper 80s. Some areas might be, sorry, I got the hiccups, might be getting close to 90 degrees. The Gulf is starting to turn to just it already is. It's a bathtub. The Western Caribbean really warming up. Everybody's warm. So, you know, just because there really hasn't been any strong storm systems in these areas. We had that big ridge, that big area of high pressure over areas of the country. I mean, it just warmed up. It's just warmed up dramatically. So we're going to continue to watch all this. Now let's talk about today's weather really quick, and we'll wrap the video up. Nothing too crazy to get detailed on here. Big area of storms cruising down to Oklahoma, down to northern Texas. We got rain hanging out here in eastern Nebraska, eastern South Dakota, into western Minnesota. And we got areas of rain in the southeast. Atlanta, for example, waking up to a soggy start. We got some rain in the Carolinas, moisture hanging out over the northern Gulf off the coast of the southeast. And we were waking up to phenomenal conditions in certain areas that have just been boiling hot. For example, I hit 67 degrees for a low. Our dew points are in the mid-50s right now. So, for my folks up north, like picking on me, like, man, that ain't nothing. That's several degrees below average here in Columbia, South Carolina, here for our neck of the woods. So watches, warnings, and advisories. We do have flood watches up. And this isn't just for today. This is for the soggy pattern on the way for southern areas of Georgia, northern Florida, Alabama. We got flood watches up for the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. We got some red flag warnings in the hot pink color here across Wyoming, Utah, and some extreme heat warnings and watches across the Southwest. Some heat advisories remain in place across areas of Texas and Florida. The risk of severe weather, we do have a slight risk across areas of Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. It looks more like May, early June in this area. Tornado threat, 2% risk. And the wind threat is at a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60. Hail threat. We have a risk of not only hail in this area, but we have a risk of significant sized hail. So there's a 10% chance of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger in this black outline area. And the yellow, of course, is the 15% risk. So could have some big storms in this area today. Excessive rainfall outlook, got to watch out for flash flooding here in southwest Oklahoma and then areas of northern and central Texas. And then we look down here in Alabama, Georgia, and northern Florida, 15% risk of flooding exceeding excessive amounts in this area. So the southeast, we're going to have just rain dancing around here, kind of around and just south of this boundary in place. So soggy times in Alabama, areas of Georgia, areas of rain that could make it all the way up in the middle of Tennessee, southern Kentucky, and northern Florida. And just rain will continue. Not a lot of it makes it deep into the Carolinas, but that'll change as we get into tomorrow. You can see rain begins to surge north as the boundary sort of pivots back and forth that's in place. So definitely a lot of rain just between now and tomorrow evening. I mean, multiple inches of rain here in the southern half of Georgia, southern Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, a lot of rain. And even in the extreme low country of South Carolina, a lot of rain can fall. And you can literally see the CAD boundary off this, guys. I mean, you can see it. A lot of dry air funneling into this area, allowing for kind of a moisture cutoff, if you will. The Northeast is nice. It's a beautiful day of weather. Enjoy it. I mean, you could get some storm action that could drift into northern Maine later tonight, but I mean, I wouldn't write home about it or anything like that. This area of storms in Oklahoma and Texas will fall apart and will be replaced with more convection that could fire up in the western areas of Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, eastern Colorado, but it's going to be very discreet. And we could get some 1 or 2 nasty supercells. Like that is a big time supercell here in the western areas of Kansas. And these are the ones that could produce a tornado, very large hail. It's more of just a spring, kind of a mid to late spring look out here for sure. And some storms could get going here along the Red River, point south. So there is a slight risk. There just ain't a whole lot to get detailed on because there's not a lot showing. But we get into this afternoon in the north central U.S., a rainy day across central Minnesota. Could get some storms that pop off here in central Nebraska. You see them down here dancing around. So be mindful of that. Marginal risk is in place. Level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. We get all the way to tomorrow morning. Some rain showers could greet you guys across Minnesota. Maybe northwest Iowa. Could have some shower activity into the UP. And then the western U.S., hey, I mean, there ain't a whole lot to speak on out here, guys. I mean, we could get some moisture here. We will later this evening in central to eastern Oregon. So be mindful of some rain for your Sunday nights. And, yeah, outside of that, not a whole lot. Temperatures, I mean, it's warm everywhere. Where you got cloud cover and stuff, it's going to be cooler. I mean, there's a chance that areas in northern Georgia and to South Carolina might not get out the 60s today. Now, I'm expecting some areas to certainly not. For example, the high temperature forecast for my area is around 80, 81 degrees here in Columbia. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't hit that. So, I mean, it's warming up just about everywhere, but it's not overly warm. It's comfortably warm, honestly, except Florida, you're just boiling. But, you're not going to get a cold front in Florida this time of the year. And then out west, I mean, it's pretty warm everywhere. It's just not overly hot. Unless you live in the Southwest, and Texas is starting to get uncomfortable again. So, that's all I got. Hey, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Listen, the tropics are going to be a huge topic going forward, and, it's going to be a chance we're going to begin to double up some videos, especially if something gets going a little bit closer off the coast of the southeast. But it's just that time of the year. I think that our break is wrapping up. We had a 4-month slow period with the channel, just a slow month with everybody, with the weather, unless you're a storm chaser, and stuff like that. But appreciate the support. I understand, I do want to mention this, that I'm probably going to get some people who don't like the new thumbnails and stuff like that. Starting to see a couple comments here and there, and I always expected it. People don't like change, but listen, at the end of the day, not going to change who I am at the core. And I don't mind some constructive criticism. But if I feel in my heart, obviously, that I'm not really doing anything wrong, then, I'm not going to really change up anything. But I'm always okay with constructive criticism if it's presented in a respectful way. Listen, I mean, some people just don't know how to talk with one another. And I'm always kind of self-checking myself. But if you go back and you've been tuning in for a while with my channel, you know that my thumbnails has always been just, and a lot of people like them. They've always just kind of been not as flashy, and they haven't been as flashy because I haven't really known how to do it or really taken the time to make them better. It's not that I didn't want them to be flashy. And when I say flashy, we're not talking about fear-mongering. I'm just talking about something that's going to catch your eye. So that's why I've been just experimenting with new things and things like that. But if I was to put, and this is what I used to do, if I was to put everything on the thumbnail saying, hey, I'm going to put a bunch of like sub-paragraphs on the thumbnail to tell you what this entire video is about. And that's what I used to do. The chances of somebody clicking on that are low. And it's the facts. It's true. And, I want people to click on the video, hear things, and it'll allow for more people to see what we got with this channel. Because I do believe, and this isn't a shot at anybody. It really isn't. But I do believe, that I am one of the most detailed weather YouTubers out there, especially when it comes to actually breaking down impacts of some sort of storm system. Especially if you tune in the winter. I don't know of anybody that pulls up a snowfall graphic for every single National Weather Service region that is predicting snow from like a winter storm. I mean, I pull up every single graphic for you guys. So, a lot of people don't know that because my channels my videos just don't hit the algorithm. So just kind of explaining myself, and I'm always going to do that because you guys are my family, and I appreciate y'all very much. But I want people to see what we got to offer on this channel. I want people to hear, us share our testimony, our faiths, or pray for one another. You never know how you're gonna, throw out a seed, and then God latches onto that seed, and the rest is history, right? So, but that's all I got. Never gonna lose track of who I am, guys. I just want y'all to know that. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all, and thank you for the feedback. And that's all we got. God bless. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.